Hi everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast, Buzz About Golf. Steve, the Buzzman Buzza.
Partner in crime, Megan Buzza.
So today we are talking like junior golf or like golf development. So this is one of Megan's specialities. Golf is a really hard one to like get into. So I would argue sometimes it's easier as a junior than like a young adult. It can be a hard game. The nature of golf can be quite hard to get into.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have a focus on juniors today, but if you're someone who's relatively new to golf, you have somebody like a friend that's getting into golf, maybe a spouse that you've got coming into golf. I think a lot of the things that we're going to say here kind of applies in that scenario. So junior golf, Megan, and I'm going to ask you to do it this way. Your perfect day in terms of junior golf. So if you had it the way that you want it to be, how would you structure? How would you go about teaching somebody golf?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, the biggest question I probably get as a coach is when should I introduce my junior to the game?
Great question.
And that's been a big conversation for us, both being golf professionals now that we have our own junior golfers, exposing them to the game and the strategies that we use, because ultimately it's a game of a lifetime, right? So we have our whole lives to play this. So we need to make sure that the introduction is one that will make them want to continue to play. My answer to when people ask me about, when should I get my junior involved in golf is I think a lot of it has to do with the level of interest and the strategy of which you approach
For sure.
getting them going.
For sure. And we have a 3 and a 1-year-old. The 3-year-old, he's not really shown much interest.
No interest. Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Then our 1-year-old,
Yeah.
she will grab a club. She likes hitting. And I think it's understanding that it's fine with both of them. Mm-hmm. And it's not, how do you say it? It's not taking it personally. Like, especially for us. Like, we're heavily involved with golf. The 3-year-old, you just go, look, you want to encourage, and it's a fine line. And I think maybe giving a slightly different perspective as golf coaches, I think we're more worried about pushing it on him and her too much rather than kind of the other way around. And in a way, you almost create a scenario where you give the impression you don't want them to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even with our, now almost 3.5-year-old, I guess he is now, he's getting his first golf experience right now through a golf program in the area that I trust and not through us. And so that was a decision that, obviously before having kids, I would have thought, by 3, he'd be playing, we'd be doing all this, but it's because of the lack of pushing him, forcing him to do it. But as a result, he does really like golf, and he's saying, yes, I really enjoy it, but he also has his other things that he really likes too.
And that's kind of interesting because you actually, so North Texas PGA, they have an awesome, this is as good as I've seen. But you actually help out, but you've deliberately gone, look, for this one, I'm going to try and get him into things or on days where I'm not coaching.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm 100% mom in these classes. Even to the point where I have access and ability to go up and do things that a coach would do, but I'm completely disconnecting. Yeah. I drop them off. I go over to the side. I'm not doing anything that would indicate that I'm a coach in any way when I'm there.
And it's the running around, isn't it? It's he is enjoying being a part of the scenario. It's funny when you look at what he's doing. Like the hitting of the golf ball is probably at this moment in time the smallest part of the enjoyment, but actually making sure he's just having a good time. It's almost creating an association. I kind of liked Podrick Harrington. If you saw that, he made some comments about his kid.
What did he say exactly? Because I think I missed that.
Well, I'll paraphrase. I can't say it exactly, but so Podrick Harrington on December so he talked about how it's taking the kid to play, not making them stay. So once they've got tired or lost interest, you go, look, we're done. And then taking them for ice cream or doing something. So it's the opportunity.
The association too. Yeah.
But association and
that's interesting.
And letting them actually be a part of what you do.
Yeah.
You know, I think kids really like spending time with their mum and dad, respectively, especially if they feel like it's into something. It's almost like bring a kid to work day. You know, that would
get a little.
That would literally be what it would be with us.
Yeah, that is.
But it's kind of, and it's pulling that in. Love what you said about like you do have to do it to the interest. Do you remember we were teaching the young girl was incredibly good, and then like her brother was who was probably like 3 or 4, girl was about 10. The brother was desperate to get involved because he was watching his big sister do it, and the parents were almost reluctant, like trying to hold him back a little bit. And you're like, just let him.
He's
let him.
Interested, yeah.
Yeah, he's interested. Let him do it.
And then once and we'll get to this in a second, but once you do discover that interest, I am just the ultimate believer of set them up for success. Give them equipment that they can perform well with. So even though as golf pros, we tend to get a lot of free equipment, right? We tend to get hand-me-downs from clubs. Our kids have every single club that they could possibly need in lefty, righty, each different sizes. And those weren't handed down. Those are ones that we went out and bought because we want to get the right equipment for them. And I've already seen them growing very quickly out of the size.
Yes.
But we are always going to have the kids in the right size. And that's one thing. They may or may not be interested, but they're going to have a chance. Yeah. Then from there, hopefully they're going to be interested.
They're going to have good equipment and then a lot of garb clothing.
A lot of garb clothing.
Is it garb?
Yeah, garb, junior golf. It's so cute.
So our little 3-year-old, he looks like he could play on tour when he arrives.
He's got a little tour bag. He's got everything. So he's going to have the right equipment is where I'm getting to. They look the part.
All the gear, no idea.
Oh, but, yeah.
But you have that. And so with equipment, so the ones that I like, US Kids Golf, that one is a really good...
well, even to take it back a step, I mean, the first set of clubs was a plastic set of clubs, and like, look, there's nothing wrong with that. I got a dollar store set of clubs for $125 because the prices of dollar store has gone up, and it came with the iron, the putter, in a little bag, I think, and it's just like that's enough for them to at least go like, oh, I have my own club. It's that ownership, and that's one thing I don't see a lot is parents getting clubs for their kids because it's like there's an ownership to like this is my golf club. I do like the US Kids
that's what a 1-year-old does.
Yep. And then we had the lag shot trainer kids, club trainer, which is
the lag shot we got left and right handed.
Left and right, yep.
So
and the US Kids we have left and right.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids, and this is actually something I learned from Steve. They cross hand a lot. Can you go into that?
I was actually thinking, who's Steve? That's me.
The Buzzman.
The Buzzman. Please refer to me as the Buzzman, not Steve.
So you know when a kid starts,
who the hell is Steve?
So we think right now our little girl is doing a lot of left-handed things. She's making left-handed swings really well, but when they learn early on, many kids that are right-handed will do left-hand low. Yes. So that's a very common thing that we see.
So that's a big, so like if you're watching and you have kids, so a lot of kids will go, so right-handed golfer, they'll go left-hand low. Reason being, if you think about it, if you don't have the limb strength, by going left-hand low, it becomes more of a dragging action and you can actually start using your body.
Have you seen some of the left-hand low kids that are doing it incorrectly have some of the best moves because they are using their body correctly? So what we're saying is we wouldn't change that.
So we definitely don't change it.
At that age.
At that age.
The younger ages, they haven't developed that.
Well, it's not. For me, it's not even a development thing. It's like if you don't physically have the strength in your limbs, And just convert it up. If I gave you a golf club that was 10 times too heavy, you know, you're gonna not be able to move it with your body. It ends up becoming a task just to get it above your head. So you'd start lifting, you'd start doing random moves. So that left hand low grip for the right-handed golfer as a kid, not going anywhere near it.
Yeah.
And for two reasons. One, that's kind of the mechanical side. The other reason is the kid isn't going to thank you.
Yeah, they don't like it. The kids don't like that change.
They don't like the change.
Yeah.
You're getting in the way of their fun.
And all of a sudden they're like, wait, I was able to hit it well and now I can't hit it well. And I actually haven't seen, as they get older and do develop the strength, because one's a push and then the other one's a pull.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they get that strength, I haven't had any issue changing them to a conventional grip, because at that point they're invested in the game. So we're talking an introduction, get them hooked. Then when they're able to have the success, make the appropriate changes. We're not saying to keep them left-hand low.
No. And
it's at the right time.
And I use this example a lot of the time when I've got somebody that's come from another sport, and with the kids, it's even more so. We're trying to lay down the fiber optics. That's the way I think about it. So as a young kid, I'm not trying to have them as the finished article. They don't have to be plugged into the grid yet. But I need to lay the foundations. I need the fiber optics there. So then when it's time, you can do it. So if you got a left-hand low grip, you're building the body moves. So you're building the ability to sequence. So you're creating the moves that they're gonna need. So you're laying the foundations. What I call fiber optics. You're putting all the fiber optics down. So then when they are now ready to use it, they switch to grip easy. That's them plugging it in.
Yeah, I love that.
Like I said, if I have somebody that's come from a different sport, they might not have any golf background, but they actually already have the fiber optics down. I need to find a way to plug it into the grid.
Yeah, and that's always fun when they have the other skills that you can incorporate.
Yeah, and I'm very big on it's easy to cut the crops or harvest the crops rather than grow the crops. So you see at a young age, I want to create that growth.
Yeah.
So I think that leads. Oh, let's just finish off. So we've talked.
You asked me a really good question. You said my perfect day. I was basically starting with its interest, correct equipment, and then from there it's understanding that they have to have fun first.
Fun first.
That's fun first. Understand obviously important things like safety and things like that for that age. Mm-hmm. But then lastly is routine, and that's where, I'm a junior golf song is my thing. Like, have them understand that there's a process and something that they can remember. So that would be my top 4.
I like that. And the fun is really, really important. And it's kind of understanding that a junior lesson isn't a watered down version of an adult lesson.
Yeah, it's so different. It's such a different animal. And that's why when, if you are a parent seeking a junior golf instructor or a coach for your junior, it is understanding it might not be the same person that you take lessons from. In many cases, it's someone that's been, I really think there's so many great trainings out there, but someone that specializes in introducing kids to golf. Because it is a very different strategy.
It's a completely different strategy, and I've obviously been very fortunate that I get to see what you've done. I've observed you teach. So when I'm with a junior, I've kind of got it off of that. But I can remember certainly when I was younger, you sometimes as the coach, the answer. So you know that it's not meant to be a watered down version, but then when you get into the moment, you start to go back to the type. So if you teach a lot of juniors, there was kind of a stat that I was given that like your average golf pro will give 80% too much feedback, and we're talking in an adult environment.
Oh wow!
So you see, if you're already in a zone where you're giving too much, you then go down into a junior, we've got to assume the junior needs less rather than more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of setting that environment where would you say discovery?
Yeah, definitely discovery. And it's also, and tell me if this is not on the same page, but I think a lot of times parents' expectations. I was interested in what you think as well, because so many times you go to, like, so for example, we already mentioned the one that our kid's going through. So there's a warm up, a word of the week, a discussion on the game of golf and the components of the club. Yeah. And then the warm up is always really good because it's that hand-eye and the athletic development. And then, the golf portion of it really is, 10 to 15 minutes of focused on golf. And then they have sticker time, which is huge, right? It's a chart where they're able to say, hey, today we covered this, and they get their 2 stickers, and our son loves that.
Yes.
But a lot of times as a parent, you hear the feedback of, oh, what does this have to do with golf? The warm up and all these. I think a lot of it is if they're playing games at the end, oh, they're just playing a bunch of games. They haven't been working on their swing.
100%.
How would you explain that to parents? Because I know, obviously, but I'm curious.
So when I was back in England, I did a training with, they're called Jolf golf.
Yep.
So one of the things that he said, which I really, really liked, was, so I think a difference between adult coaching and junior coaching from a coaching perspective is, for juniors, there's the session make or break, or how good the session is going to be, is on the planning. There's a far bigger setup. So if you set up the drills, whatever you're going to do, that will determine how good it goes. When I'm with an adult, there's not as much setup. Even if I might be using more technology, so I might need to check that the technology is working, but I don't have to be there setting stuff out as much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for that reason, the setup happens prior to both the golfer or the parent coming. So sometimes you have to, and this is what they would say, Joel, because you've already set everything up, your one-to-one time with the kids is not the component that's going to make it successful or not. You're just letting them interact with the tasks.
Yes.
So you can actually take a step back and actually speak to the parents and say, hey, this is why we're doing it. But it's far more about skill development, motor control development, and understanding some of the things that we take for granted, the kids might not quite have yet.
Yeah.
And
I mean, look, if you don't understand that, ask your kid to skip or throw a ball.
Yes.
Those things, you'll see it right away. And then you go, okay, why can't they swing a club? Can they skip? Can they throw a ball? Can they juggle? All of those have components of, separation, hand-eye coordination, so these are all things that we need to be able to do to have the most success swinging a club. And sometimes it doesn't, juggling. What would that have to do? It all interlays with your learning of the game.
When I was in Thailand, I took over, so we used to go into one of the American schools, and obviously going to teach golf, but one of the groups I had was they were like 5.
Oh, wow.
And I hadn't taught 5-year-olds for the longest period. And I go in with, what are the plastic clubs called?
Oh, so those are snag.
Snags.
Yep.
So I go in with all the snag stuff, and I'm like super pumped. And I'm really like, so we're going to do putting, chipping, driving, we're going to run at the green, then we're going to do the warm-ups, a bit of association. So this will be a bunker, this will be a green, you got to run. And I'm really excited. I get in there. These kids can't, they're struggling to roll a ball to each other, let alone catch, let alone. So can you see, I was going to go in there with all this golf stuff, and like 2 minutes into the first session, I'm like, well, we're going to have to kind of scrap that and get far more into those core components of just movement. it's why, and it kind of leads in quite nicely, why early
specialization is not a good idea in golf.
No.
Yeah. And ultimately and this is going to circle back to what you just said there, is that is the whole beauty of this game. It's like, it's not as simple as just going, and there's so much more to it. There's so many layers of why someone should play golf and what you're going to get out of golf. And for a junior golfer, it's look at who you're going to become in the process. If you've been around kids that are around the game of golf versus ones that aren't, you know, they're able to be around adults a lot easier. They understand
100%.
all the life lessons that you get through the game. And so, yeah, I do think that, but back to the early specialization, it isn't good for kids to just be in one sport.
Correct. And especially in golf. And you can take the dynamics of other sports. You can take like team sports can be really, really helpful, you know, into personal growth. We've just talked about, we've got left and right-handed clubs.
Yep.
You know, so again, you could even argue within golf, we're not specializing them in one, because if you can start to learn the different patterns, you start teaching the body how it can accelerate, decelerate. So that golfer that has the ability to do that, let's say we have the desire for that golfer to become an elite golfer, the likelihood is they'll be able to hit it significantly further. And you know, the way the game is going.
So Dr. Greg Rose and Dave Phillips at TPI, they did a really cool research project a few years back on the tour players that are right-handed that actually have some left-handed components, and then obviously the other way around, left-handed that are right-handed. And it was actually very high, the population of, like, you would see Jordan Spieth, obviously a right-handed golfer, and then he would be throwing a pitch out at a game left-handed. So they actually found that having that kind of left and right, being able to switch off, was a huge advantage. Where, you know, I feel like when I talk to a lot of golfers about it, they're always thinking it's a disadvantage to be left-handed in a right-hander's body, right? Or something like that. So I know that's something I'm always really excited about is that I'm left-handed and I play right-handed. So I feel that
as I am,
it's an advantage.
I throw left-handed.
Yeah. So having no wonder why you're so good at this golf.
But I right-handed, throw left-handed.
So just having that kind of ability, not only, I'm sure it probably has some mental capacity to it as well.
So they call it big break theory. So once you go into adult training with like the power.
Okay.
A lot of the time, if you want to increase speed, you need to learn how to decelerate your non-dominant side.
Oh, okay.
So that's why, and they use, so in the long drivers, especially back in the day, a lot of Canadians were coming over and dominating the world long drive scene. They were hockey players that had a left-handed slap shot, became a right-handed golfer. And again, so it's all about learning how to accelerate, decelerate.
Oh, that's cool.
So if we're going to learn how to accelerate, decelerate, and for me, acceleration, deceleration is the language in which a golf swing talks. So we talk about sequencing. What's sequencing? It's the body parts talking to each other. How do they talk? What language do they speak? Acceleration, deceleration. So we then, that's the science. Let's go back to the simplest level. So how are we going to get our kids accelerating, decelerating? Well, running around is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Doing gymnastics is a good way to do it. So you see, that's why we don't want the early specification.
Yeah.
Let's hit some right-handed shots and some left-handed shots. That's a good way to learn acceleration, deceleration. Let's not try and judge them on how closely they can hit it to a target all the time. Let's give them the freedom. You know, Jack Nicklaus talked about getting driver out as far as you can, and then you'll learn how to hit it straight. That is actually the science backs that up.
Yeah. And I mean, even just like, one thing I've always loved doing is hitting water balloons with kids, right? Because that takes that success to anyone can do it, where it's not just determined on how well they're hitting the ball to a small target. It's taking that task and making it more achievable, yet you have the success when you have the water all over your
Yes.
all over you and your parents.
No, absolutely. So water balloons is the one. So of all the things I've taken from you, and when it comes to junior coaching, the water balloon at the end of the session, the kids just love it. It's freeing. You leave on a high. It makes them want to come back. You know, so you've definitely got that fun aspect.
Yeah, because you want them to leave saying, "I like golf. I want to play it again." And that's the key. If you're doing that, then you're obviously doing something right each time.
Absolutely. And then how would you, so we're giving the examples of like how to structure coaching. What would your advice be to a parent that's going, look, I want to spend time with my kid. I want to take them to the driving range. How would you go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. You and I were taking our kids out on the driving range when they were in strollers and you know, babies, right? So just putting them in an environment where it becomes a normal thing for you to be able to take them out there. I'd say that now there are so many great ways to get kids out. Like we even have that attachment on the stroller. It's called the Kid Caddy, where you can put your clubs and actually go and play.
Yeah.
So
that's super helpful when we have a driving range about half a mile from here.
Walking distance, pitch and wedge away for you. So
little flighted one.
So in the meantime, it is nice to have that option, and there is going to be one. I know a lot of people are going, well, I can't bring them out to my private club. There's a kid-friendly golf facility near you, so finding that and just making it, you know, pressure-free. Do I get as much out of my practice? Never when I bring them, but it is something special. Like we even have, you know, the photos of us with our son on the bag stands, and you know, those are things that I even look back at like, wow, these are some of the best times.
And it's not over coaching them.
Yeah, just let them. Yeah, we don't. We're coaches, and we don't even give feedback right now at this stage.
And I know we've done a separate podcast on this, but telling them to keep your eye on the ball, slow down, keep your head still, just destroys it. At best, it makes them not enjoy the golf as much. At worst, they just won't want to play.
Yeah. So that's a big one.
Give them the freedom.
That bad advice is not helping them at all. So that's why, you know, if you do look up on YouTube, you look up the junior golf song. If it's not one of those components, the junior golf song covers 3 setup keys. So it teaches them how to set up. It covers 2 full swing, like in swing things, which is just make an L on the backswing and shift your weight. And then it covers the finish.
Sing it. Sing it.
Well, it is on YouTube under the junior golf song.
Here we go.
All right, we're doing it together?
You can do backing vocals. I haven't done it. I haven't done the full version for a while.
This is
how the grip looks. Feet together, step, step. Booty out, back straight. L for light. Now shift your weight. 1, 2, show your shoe. I hold your finish on the follow through. You actually knew it. And that's the thing, is it is so easy. Remix.
Like I'll give my mom a little credit. So we went and played golf with my mom on Thanksgiving one year, and she was hitting these beautiful shots, and she's not a golfer, and the rest of the family's all golfers, and we were just like, wow, you're really good. Like every shot was a good shot for someone that does not play. And then finally, you know, because she does follow everything I do and comments on everything I do, right? Finally, she goes, you know, I just sing the golf song in my head. And so it just works. It's the 3 key setup things, the 2 in swing thoughts, and which is not even thoughts. It's more of a rhythmic movement,
it's a
right?
Rhythmic, well,
yeah. And then the 2 finish keys.
But the kids can interact with that. So when we go back into adults, like having process goals can be really helpful. Do you see, for the kids, they can judge themselves on how much they can remember of the song, what part of the song that they were trying to do. The big one with kids as well is they don't care how good the shots are.
Yeah,
it's an adult thing. They don't care.
That's a good point.
So you trying to change their grip and telling them all this stuff, they don't care that they miss one. Normal 1 in. So if a kid hits 1 in 3 shots, that's normal and fine.
Yeah. And
So-
they're totally
So
cool.
let them swing.
Yeah.
I use this example. I used to work at University of Exeter. So we had this, well, it's still there, beautiful AstroTurf, like short game facility in the middle of the campus. I'm there coaching one Saturday, and a gentleman has his like 2-year-old. Certainly wasn't older than 2. And the 2-year-old was dropping the ball, literally, I'm talking like millimeters from the edge, tapping it in, picking the ball out,
Cute.
next hole, tap it in. And the dad then went, oh, no, go further away. And I kind of said, hey, look, he's having fun.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
And that was success. That was process. That had everything in it.
But for me, so they don't care if they miss, and don't define fun under our fun. So basically, if kids don't find it fun, they'll go do something else. We've got a pot out, potting green here. The ball goes in and it shoots it back. Yeah, the air brake. But the ball goes in and it shoots it back. So I say, oh, my 3-year-old's not that interested. Both of them love putting a ball in the hole and it shoots out.
Shoots back,
Can you see if I come in and go, well, why don't you stand back here and put it in there? It's not what he's interested in. But he gets used to getting the ball in the hole. The likelihood is he'll start rolling it in the hole. Then he'll start using a putter, and then all of a sudden he gets hooked that way.
Yeah, it's just that exposure because we've got 1 and 3, and they don't know much, but they know golf room. And the second they get a golf club, they're heading up to the golf room to swing it. And so it's just planting those seeds that like, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe he's not quite putting yet, but he's going to come up and play the ball send back game. And they're always saying golf room.
And then before you say, but I don't have a golf room, they come in and break all my stuff in the golf room. So if you don't have a golf room, you can go somewhere else and they break other people's stuff, that's got to be better. My final thought, and I'm going to leave this. So when I used to work for Ledbetter, so this is a kind of behind the scenes thing. David lined up 3 parents because you imagine the only time he was in town, a lot of the local kids, the young kids, really good ones, they all came. So 3 parents with kids that were looking, even at this young age, they could be, the next Tiger. And he pulled all 3 of them together, and he said in very directly, if you make this feel like work for them, they will end up hating it. This is a game. I know they're good. This is a game. Let them have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a good way to, and like I said, not for the camera, not for anything, just directly to them. Kind of wanted them to work at a Ledbetter Academy. Whether it was with us in Thailand or if it was, going over to America. Do not make it feel like a job. And, David doesn't need my respect. He's respected enough in this business. But as a coach and as a man, you're like, actually, that's how it should be.
Yeah. Well, we as parents now, it's so exciting to be able to be on this journey and have our chance to expose our kids to the game of golf. And we definitely encourage all of you to do that as well because it's a beautiful game.
It is. And
one that should be done with your family.
With the family. And don't underestimate the power of just spending time.
Yeah.
It's a bonding moment of time. If you don't know much about the swing, don't talk about the swing. If you know a little bit about the swing, certainly don't talk about the swing because you're actually more dangerous than the other guy.
Yeah.
Just let them have fun.
Lots that they can learn.
Spending time with you.
Yeah, there's so much they can learn and just become better little people.
And I want my kids, obviously, I want to be able to turn up at Augusta and get in there with them. So that would be lovely. But golf teaches you that life's not fair. In the most beautiful way possible.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it. It's chaotic. It's very parallels with life. And that's why I love golf, the development. And again, I love what you said, have fun.
I love it.
There we go.
We're very blessed to be able to share this game and
And this podcast.
And this podcast.
So like and subscribe and bless us more. If you have any comments, get them down.
Yeah.
Any topics you would love for us to speak about. And as always,
stay happy, stay safe, and hope to catch you soon.
There we go, see? I let
Bam,
her,
bam, bam, bam.
I let her experience it.